You don't just randomly sell out other markets legitimately, I guess is what you're saying, Steve.
Yeah.
Maybe you have an extended family. But, more often than not, you're not going to, Southern Ontario cities and just doing business. It's because there's something going on. And like Jason said, I mean, what we do see more often than not now is bands starting to think smart and going, okay, you're from Kitchener, you can sell out, and I'm from Ottawa, and I can sell out. Let's start working this. And bands like Beto and Soundclash is a great example where they went to Queens, they were friends with guys that went to U to Waterloo, and they could sell out Queens, and the guys could sell out, and it worked that way, and all of a sudden they popped up, 3 or 4 hours away from Kingston. They were doing the sellout business, and it grew that way, and then people took notice of them. That was exactly when Paul Gurley, who's an agent in our office, was like, oh, this band's selling out, they're from Queens, but they're selling out U of Waterloo, there's something going on. And that's when the gears start turning for us as agents. We start recognizing things going, something a little bit more than a hometown play.
A little bit of a selfish question. What kind of impact does radio support have on a band touring?
Huge. You want to take that one, Steve?
Not really, but I will.
Pass.
No, it's huge. Obviously, it's immense help, and at the same time, with bands that I book, I don't assume it's sort of like gravy. It's just, if it happens, it just takes it to the next level, and it's amazing. I don't count on it happening. I don't generally work with bands being like, this is only going to happen with radio, and if not, nothing's going to happen with you as a career. But it's huge. I mean,
sure. For me and a lot of the artists I work with, radio is not everything, but it's a big help. I mean, if my artist is on the radio, that means people are being exposed to it. And when I'm coming through the city with the right promotion, they're hearing the song on the radio, and everyone's connecting, all the dots are, and everything's lined up in a row. Hopefully, that's going to help selling tickets. So for me and the artists I primarily work with, radio is a big push and a big outlet.
And it is gravy because as agents, one of the biggest things that everyone goes, oh, well, they book gigs. We book gigs, but really, guys, at the end of the day, that's not what we really do for a living. That's sort of the easy part of getting out of bed every day is booking shows. The hard part, amongst a lot of things, is monitoring marketing and making sure that the stuff that these promoters who we sell our artists to effectively are doing their job promoting our artists so that people know they're coming to town so that they'll buy a ticket. And I know that sounds like a really simple concept, but it's actually a much harder concept than you can conceive, in the sense that there is so much traffic, and we're seeing this more now. And there can be you can talk for days about the record industry and the state they're in. One thing I will say, being an agent of 15 years, is that I've seen live artists are looking to create more money in live revenue than ever. And so what you're seeing as a result of that is increased traffic flow tenfold. And so what that means to us is it's a great time to be an agent, okay? So it was ring the bell for us on that level, but the reality is it also means a lot more work making sure that your artist is part of the equation or known that your artist is playing the market. And so radio is that extra oomph because you've got somebody talking for 24/7 on a free forum where anybody can hear it, talking about your artist and the show, and there's enthusiasm, and assumedly if you listen to that station you're into that level of artist or that style of artist. It can be a real drive. What I'm seeing, and I really am not saying this because Lee's sitting beside me, but certainly was saying this at dinner, we had dinner earlier, was that you guys are really lucky, you Ottawaians or whatever you call yourselves, are really, really lucky folk to have a station like Live 88 that is as aggressive as they are and supportive as they are, because the reality is we don't have this kind of program. None of the three of us have been flown in by any other radio station across this country to talk to potential artists and bands and upcoming bands. But beyond that is that you got somebody who's playing stuff that's not necessarily, they're not being told by radio programmers. And the bulk of our radio stations in this country are not programmed by a program director. They're programmed by a stats company out of America that says, here's what the listeners want to hear. Play it more often so that they turn the radio on more and they don't turn it off. And the reality is, I think that you asked that question, we have to speak to stations like yourself and like Sonic Radio in Edmonton and the Zone in Victoria that are breaking out of a mold and are saying, let's play good fucking music, whether the Americans say we should play it or not, let's play it. And that's when you start seeing a real difference. And those are passionate audiences. Some of the biggest audiences for Metric are not Toronto, because the Edge doesn't really like that. It's Edmonton, the Zone, Ottawa, Live. It's like the reality is those other markets that really support the band that we see it really make the difference in their live sales.
Look, I think the market's very congested, maybe even a little oversaturated. I think bars and promoters are taking hits because there's so many options, so many shows. I don't know if tickets are flying like it used to be. I mean, you've been around for 15 years. 15 years, I haven't been around nearly half that long, but that's something I do see. Having radio, I definitely do think adds value, so I don't mean to sound like a broken record. However, having radio in your corner, I think hopefully will help push that extra mile. So just going on is radio important? Absolutely. I think
Totally agree.
I think it's almost
Couldn't agree more. Mainstream radio obviously is tough to get on. What do you think about the impact of college radio? Because it's pretty easy for a band to go truck through some cities, small or medium, whatever, and go talk to programmers at college radio. Now, is there an impact as far as shows, drawing, agents, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I've been working with the top 3 on college charts. Doesn't hurt. Does it help?
That's a good answer. Not really.
I don't know. I mean, it's a cool thing to have. I feel like more people check the charts than they're actually listening to the stations. I went to McMaster. I didn't really listen to the radio. I don't really listen to it in Toronto, the college. But I don't know. It's, you know what? If you need to start somewhere, like, it's a great place to start. Whether or not it's effective, I don't know.
I think it used to be effective years ago. I don't know if it's like, 2 decades ago, in the 80s, 90s. I think that's when it mattered more. Now, I mean, sure, it's nice, it helps, that people are listening great, but, does it make that big of a difference?
I don't know. I mean, they're kind of throwaways. Their frequency, their reach is so minimal. You find very few, the biggest problem with college stations and what is great about them, and I think is probably what I find, and again, I certainly am not getting a check from Live 88 here, but what I think is actually special about the stations like this is that they're not sticking to, because I mean, really, as people that compare radio nationally, okay, and I'm a sick individual that listens online to, Fox in Vancouver at 9 a.m. to monitor to see what my artists are doing and how my concert promotions are going, but the reality is that, like, college radio used to be what these guys are and what Sonic and Edmonton is and what we're seeing now with these other stations, in that they're playing new music that the mainstream radio is not. Now college radio station has gone to, like, this, CRTC has beat them down so savagely. They're doing spoken word and, like, too much reggae and too much house, and there's not enough direction that anybody's going to listen to it. We have 2 great college radio stations. We have 3 great universities in Toronto where I live, and we have a lot of opportunities, but none of them are really worth listening to. It's probably one station that I've been listening to since I was a teenager that's still alive. It's a hip-hop show that runs Sunday afternoons on CKLN. Outside of that, I would never honestly listen to any one of those stations because I don't know what I'm getting, and 90% of the time I turn the station on, it's some dude talking about his plant or his cat or something, and it's not, it's not consistency, which is, you turn on Live 88, you turn on any one of those stations, you're probably going to either hear something new or something you like.
You know what, what's good about it is it's at the grassroots level, so, and it's a lot of the type of bands that I have and I work with, but, there's a community around the college radio stations, so even though it's really small, if it's sort of, 10 to 15 trendsetters in that town, like in Guelph, for example, if these people really get behind the right, it helps spread the show on a small level. Like, it definitely doesn't hurt.
Fair enough.
And people definitely get around it. Some stations better than others. CKLN is done, though, isn't it?
It is done.
It's done. So that's one less college radio station in Toronto.
So I'm working on my hip-hop fix because it's not our urban channel.
Before we go on to the next question, could someone give me an update of the game?
1-0 Montreal.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's important. Maybe just a quick touch on this. I don't know if you talk too much on it, but Coca. A lot of bands trying to get into Coca. Obviously, you're touring colleges across the country. How involved do you guys get? What do you think about the impact of Coca?
We talked about that today, right?
Yeah. As I was saying in my introduction, we did talk about it today, but in my introduction, I'm the responsible agent at Feldman for all the colleges and universities across the country. I think Coca is great for bands that are perhaps not with any of our agencies. If you're independent, if you have an opportunity to showcase, you're showcasing in front of the programmers who are going to program all the live music throughout the year, be it if it's one frost show or consistent shows, from September to April. If you have an interest in applying to Coca, I think it's a good thing because, if you guys are half decent and you connect with these kids, you might walk away with a bunch of shows and talking about what I think Metric, or I'm not sure which acts you were talking about when you were in like grade 11, grade 12, but having the opportunity to,
Shots!
showcase having the opportunity to showcase those kids and start, maybe connecting with them and getting these slots. That's how you really get to start on the ground level and really make your way up more so than just at your home market. So I'm a big proponent of Coca.